I mean, they were to think like the communists. If you speak as a communist, you are free. But if you speak as a Catholic, maybe they could stop you. But you are free to speak according to the rule. If you think like the communists, you are free. But you cannot think at the beginning. If you know, you were condemned for your thinking. It was not only doing, but thinking. They went very far, the communists went very far. They tried to change the mentality of the people. The old Chinese mentality was bourgeois, if you like. They want to change that, at least 50 years ago. It means they want to introduce a new culture, called communism or socialism, you know. The Chinese, the first thing was the family. And for the communists, the first thing is the state. It's that. Yeah. The family, when I arrived in China, and when I was sometime in Paris for 6 months, I could see that I admired that. The authority of the grandfather, or the great-grandfather, authority on the whole family, of course. They destroyed the old system. And I think it's the same now. The old system disappeared. And the old system was the system for 3,000 years. I admire that, I admire that. The communists said this, everywhere, but that is difficult, everywhere people concede, except the Catholic Church. If you have no appareil, I would say what I think. I don't dare to say what I think. The Catholic, the Pope, no concession. The other, I don't dare to say. I would hurt people. It's too dangerous. You know, something I cannot say on a book because I would hurt people. It's true. And those I criticized told me the same. Some group, I don't like to say, some group did not resist completely, except individuality, personality. It means the Catholic resisted as a group. The Catholic. No, think what you want. The Catholics in China resisted as a group. And some, of course, some individually concede. But the other group were different. For us, we will remain faithful to the Pope. I see that myself. I was condemned, not because I believe in Jesus Christ, but because I was faithful to Rome. The communists don't like to have an authority outside China. They want to get rid of the Pope. It means no external authority, no Americans, no French, no Europeans, no Rome. But I understand because they can control. When you have a national church, you can control. The church, the Catholic Church is not national. We don't say the French Church. We don't say the English Church. The Catholic Church is international, is above. But Pius XII was very solid. He understood. Pius XII kept the doctrine, in spite of the criticism. Of course. You know, even the Catholics criticize the Pope, but it's dangerous. The Pope knows, the Pope has the responsibility of the doctrine, and the Pope has the responsibility of the life of the Church. And sometimes, in some countries, they don't like it. The Church has a great difficulty in Spain, when they left for China, in 1936. In Spain, it was persecution in Spain. I mean, it's very difficult. But it's finished. When I was young, it was French. I saw that. When I was very young, French. After that, when I left for China, it was Spain. After that, when I came back, it was the Nazi in Germany. But the church passed through. And the communists did everything when I was there to separate the Chinese church from Rome. They did not succeed by talking, creating, discrediting Rome, something like that. It's by talking, discrediting Rome. And myself, I signed, I'm faithful to Rome. No, I mean I was in the police station, and I write myself, I'm faithful to the Pope. And I signed that. I signed my condemnation, if you like. They have the testimony that I was for Rome. It was not an accusation, I wrote it. But I remember that they tried to show that Rome was imperialist. The communists, when I was there, were naive, still naive. It was a revolution. It's always the same. You are radical. The bad and the good. Like that. If you are with them, you are good. You are against them, you are bad. I was with people in school. I was re-educated. I could see the teacher talking in the re-education session. But they did not. They were talking because they were obliged to think like that. But not it was not the wrong way. Myself, I don't care because I was alone. The people I have a family. They have to be very careful. They have a job in the schools, they have a family, they are very prudent when they speak. They say the best, they say the more they can say. Myself, no, finish. If you put me in jail, okay, go in jail. But I was in jail one day in Chengdu. After that, I was under the police for 2 weeks and a half, 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks. Very, very hard. I could not go anywhere without asking the permission. When I was expelled, we were 6 priests to be expelled and 6 sisters. We were expelled manu militari, it means with the police. My crime, I wrote that in my book, I was Catholic. My crime was that. I was not communist. I was a believer, I was a Catholic. It was a crime. I was a free thinker. I'm not obliged to think what I don't. They wanted to force me. But they were like that at the beginning. It's a revolution. It was the same in France, everywhere. They force you to follow the system. I say no. Myself, I was expelled. They did not put us to jail because they feared what you call international rule. We were sent back home. I was sent back home against my will. I didn't want to leave China. I did not want. And but one day, I remember that I did not want. But we were obliged to leave. I mean, myself, I was obliged to leave because the police took me guilty. We were the enemy of the people. Like that. And I accepted to be re-educated. It was interesting. But I keep my freedom of thinking. Yeah. And then at this time they did not like that. But they were like the Nazi. It was the same. The Nazi, the communist, is what you call a system imposing thinking. Not only to do, we have to think. That is different. The brainwashing center, it means everybody, 3 times a week, everybody, were obliged to go to some house and to study communism. And to study a communist, explaining communism, this is the best, etc. Entire United States. anti-United States, of course. United States was the top of capitalism. Belonged to a group, everybody belonged to a church. Everybody, for the women, for the men, for the children, for the teenagers, for those who are in school. And they have that in every street. Study communism first. Like the same as we study religion. You are obliged to study catechism, and you are obliged to go to Mass once a week. You are obliged to listen to the parish priest. The communists imitated us. But what is the difference for us? The will is the authority is God. For them it was more Satan. Is the difference in that? I could see they imitate us. They imitate us, but not the same motivation. For us the motivation was religious, it's different. For them the motivation was strictly human, strictly materialist, if you like. They want to change you. Exactly like in the church, I want to change the mind of the people. Change their mind, say, keep the commandment of God. Is that? But for us, I preach the commandment of God. I don't preach myself. The commandment of God and the advice of Jesus Christ. We preach the gospel. We preach what we call the revelation. And the difference, they use, if you like, a technique, if you like, or the way, like a religion. They want to change you. I suppose you are free. You are American. No. It's a mistake. You come here. It means you are free. And they don't like, they want to force everybody to think the same, you know. Because if we think the same, it's much easier to have a political power. And they are not criticized. I believe, but that I don't like to say that. They don't want to destroy men, they want to make men act like themselves. But when you force me to be what I don't like to be, you destroy me every week. Imagine that every week, where you live, you are obliged to go to a meeting in some house. And for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you are obliged to, they want to change your mind. They wanted to control the thinking. That was something new for me. To control the thinking. They believed they could change the mind. Our mind was capitalist, your mind is capitalist. If you were going to China, you would be obliged to change your mind in all this. Shoshi in order to destroy everything. You destroy the family in the street because the shoshi of the children criticize your parents. The shoshi of the wife criticize your husband. The shoshi of the man criticize your wife. Yeah, I remember something like that. The criticism of the priest, shoshi of the priest against the bishop. I mean, they tried that. Or maybe the bishop against the pope. It means divide. Okay, in French, or we say in Latin, divide et impera. It means divide and you will be the master. Divide the country and you become the top. Nobody is against you. They practice that. Divide the church. The priest against the pope, against the bishop, the pope against the pope. You destroy the church. And the same the family. Yeah, I remember that, yeah. They do that not because they believe, because they were good. For them it was okay. But they tried to destroy the society. It means they wanted to destroy the whole society. The whole society, 3,000 years. To change the Catholic doctrine and to make the Catholic doctrine look like Marx, you know. I mean, that is clear. They could not change Catholicism, they could not destroy Catholicism. But they want to give the spirit of Marx in Catholicism. That. They tried. I don't remember what I was thinking when I wrote that. But the meaning is this. They kept Catholicism, but they want to use it. They want to use it for the unity of China. They wanted to use the church as a means of preaching Marxism. They say no. You understand? Because they understood the moral authority of the priest. When the priest in the preaching, people listen. And they wanted to communicate, to use the priest as instrument of preaching communism. But confession, it means, okay, they ask you to do whatsoever you did bad. And myself, I say, nobody has the right to know that, except God. And if I go to confession, it's because I believe, when you confess, okay, remember, when you confess your sin, they forgive you. And because you are forgiven, you become a slave. You don't dare to do again. You do what they ask you. It means it's the way to keep your will. For us, no. I go to confession to God. It's different. For them, it was a means to control you. It means using the same word, moralité. But myself, I practice morality because I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in the gospel. I believe in God. For them, they use the same vocabulary, but they don't believe in Jesus Christ, don't believe in God. The same. Or they believe in Jesus Christ. They knew Jesus Christ, but he's not the Son of God. No. It means not the same ultimate materialist. Marx was materialist. In the name of freedom, in the name of whatsoever, 80 million Chinese were killed by Mao Zedong. 80 million. And before that, it was not necessary. For us, the motivation is a person. Ultimate is a person. But God, or Jesus Christ, of course, is God. For them, the motivation seems to be the state. The welfare of the state is more abstract, and people are not in, they try to imitate the church. I said that. Because they were amazed of the authority of the church on the Christian, on the Catholic. It's true that. But for us, it's because the church is God. They forget that. They forget that we have a motivation which transcends the world, the church. That is our faith, the Catholic faith, But the communists were admire the discipline in the Catholic Church. And they admired that. They wanted to imitate that, but they could not because they were materialists. It means for them they wanted, no ideal above this life, because Marxism as such is the materialist Marxism. It means they refuse, that means they avoid to say the world was created by God. Alors they say the world is created by the work of man.